Did you upload today's Sand Histories?
Oh, do that right now.
Right, thanks.
Right there, uploading.
All right. How'd you go?
So today I won less than a buy-in. I won 60 big blinds or so, maybe just under, which is fine. I'm happy with that. Won a bit of an upswing, I guess, over the past like week or two, but it's like pretty weak ass upswing. But given that it's like taking place over a long stretch of hands, at this point, I can't complain.
Yeah, I think at this stage, in the challenge, take the small break even sessions as a win. Um, because we're kind of just getting to the stage we just want to lock it up. We're about halfway through, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you're ahead about, what was it, 24, 25 binds?
It should be it's like 23 and a half, I believe. And it's like 24 and a half in all NEV.
Yep. Okay.
I also played a really big pot where I misclick limp re-raised him with queen three offsuit, and I won like a 110 big blind pot, which was pretty hilarious. But
Did he see the showdown?
yeah, he saw the showdown because he called with third pair, and I like rivered two pair. And I was just like this massive pot. I'm like, well, I gotta bet it now. And yeah, he called with like third pair, and I'm like,
Did he type you anything?
no, he didn't. It was pretty funny though. Like this guy must think I'm just limp raising him with like utter garbage, which like I kind of have been, but like queen three offsuit is like one of the folds when I limp, but I don't know, got him, I guess.
Excellent. That'll throw him off a bit. Yeah, correct. All right, we'll just pull up some 150 stuff here.
So I think Bitcoin just yeah, it's like
Yeah,
approaching.
Bitcoin's almost at 30K. Yeah.
It's getting there, bro.
Is he paying you in Bitcoin too?
Yeah, I've been receiving payment in Bitcoin.
Oh,
I
Jesus
just like
Christ! You
hold
just
on to it.
you're just loving this, aren't you?
Yeah, man. Things are going well.
Excellent. Excellent. We're running hot today. Um, Everybody's running hot today. Okay. So this is going through the size search sim. So this simulation actually isn't is only actually halfway done. So relatively 0.9. I don't really like that. Uh this is the size search sim for 150 big blinds deep.
Yeah.
So basically this is telling us what sizes that we would prefer to use, including the limps and stuff. So it's sort of a nearish GTO simulation. That you notice that sort of once it goes to about pot and then to min, that's where all the hands are distributed. Um, but more heavily around sort of min to 2.5 ish, and then tapers off significantly. Look at the EV stats. You know, it's like Ace King offsuit maintains its density all the way through, and it's relatively not that dense at the smaller open size, and it's got a higher density around this 2.3 size, but you know, it goes all the way up. It's suited. Similarly doesn't. really call.
It's clustered
But
up.
it's got a slightly smaller open size, and like each individual hand will have its own distribution, of course, of open sizes. So, for example, we just stick to the like 2.1, and then 2.7, and uh, 3.3. Yeah, this is 125, which can be close-ish. 2.1. And then I think at 150 he starts to just a three bet. His three bet size drops a bit for whatever reason. It shouldn't really do that. So here in GTO land, 175 has been taken most often, and 200, 225 been taken fairly frequently. The three bet frequency isn't even that low. Like here, this is a total of what 18-ish%. So
Yeah. I have noticed that the three bet size decreases a little bit as you get deeper, which is kind of weird because it's a bit different than in six max. I've noticed that in string sims as well. Like and it's not like a big effect, but I've noticed like the average three bet size loses about like half a big blind to a big blind once you get like 200 and beyond, especially, which I thought was kind of weird, but I am aware of that effect.
yeah, I'm sure I have it six max as well. Um,
Oh, it does.
yeah, once you get super deep. But I think it just happens more in heads up because there's more hands that you want to throw about. Like here 175, like a bit of 150 is 175 is like the main thing. Like once you get super deep, like you're three betting mainly for equity and all here. And it's the
And
four bet
175 is like
sizes
9.5.
that increase. Yeah, here 175 got 9.5 against this one. And then there's still plenty of like 200s and 225 being used. So it's not like the three bet sizes are massively smaller. There's a touch of this like small stuff
Interesting.
with like ace nine suited. Like you can see ace nine suited, let's say really small. Here like 31%, 32% for these smaller sizes. Which don't ace nine suited doesn't really make it up into the bigger sizes at all. Disappears after 175. Um, yeah, 0.5%. So, um, yeah, you can look at the distribution of the individual hands in this particular sim if you like, but that's not really important. Important is mainly the main four bet sizes. So let's say 175, which is kind of what he's maybe he's going like 200.
Yeah, it's like 200, I would say, on average.
And then the four bet size that likes here is 70% four bet. Now the reason why this particular simulation won't four bet bigger is because this is min five bet that will happen, which kind of just puts the four bets kind of keeps them in check. If you four bet a bit bigger, say you four bet like pot, they can still min five bet you, and then it's really difficult to sort of play against. Or if you four bet a little bit, sort of like 30 big blinds here, the min five bet comes in. And basically, you got to play jam or folding position, which is uh, not particularly ideal. So that's why you're going to be forwarding to sort of this size. If you don't think that he's got these min five bets in his strategy, then I can rerun the simulation, and you'll
Yeah,
probably end up.
I've never been min five bet, and I would be very surprised to see a five bet size of like such a small five bet size. I wouldn't be surprised if like once we got to like past 200. So there's only this one hand where I four bet him at 200 big blinds. I made it pretty big. I made it up to like 30 big blinds with ace nine offsuit, and I got jammed on for like 200 big blinds, which is fine with certain hands, but it probably shouldn't be your only size right? That said,
I mean,
I've
even if
never.
you make it 30 big blinds, there's no jamming. It's all the min.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So here's 30 and a half is one jamming is 1.5%, min is 16%. So the solver really likes the min.
Hmm.
Um, and it's kind of like you click it up and then like you force in position to jam for you, and then you can fold out, low frequency crap, um, and you're still going to be calling off. So yeah, let's have a look at 200. That was 150. Let's look at 200. Um, load again. Um, yeah, while that loads, let's have a look at these other ones. So here's so I ran six versions of this where you've got the big blind, where heroes in the big blind, and you're kind of exploiting that the fact that he's not putting enough money into the middle.
Hmm.
So this is the version. So there's six versions of these will be post exploit 30, 40, 50. So that's the exploit size that I put in the sim. So we're just kind of just node locking him to only have one particular size uh, going onto the flop, and the result of that will be that it forces the solver to put less money in on average. Um, and then we can see what its effect is on the three bet ranges. So if
Real
you,
quick,
yeah,
is there a way to node lock post flop frequencies? I've seen you node lock pre-flop frequencies, but is there a way to node lock post flop frequencies? That would be
yeah, no, unfortunately not. Um,
okay.
yeah, market just doesn't allow that. I think it would just mess up. It'll just mess
Mhm.
everything up if you try to do that. Just because like even though like it's an overall frequency that you want, like each individual flop is going to have different frequencies, so it just ends up not making any sense. So anyway, so here this is going to be what the calling range is, but in the white is a three bet range. So like the ace 10 is always being three bet now. The king queen's always being three bet. The king jack offsuit is being three bet 50%. The seven is being three bet, and the six is being three bet very high frequency. Queen 10 suited, ace 9 suited, um, king 9 and ace 8 being three bet at a much higher frequency.
Mhm.
Uh, save this because pretty much done. Um, but the other ones. Uh, sorry, jump around. All right, sorry. Back to the 200. Yeah, so it's gonna be hard to see, isn't it? Yeah, okay, that's not too bad. All right, so 200 deep. Uh, limping is not as prevalent anymore. I mean, it's 12.3% still. There's still not too many big sizes above pot. There's a little bit of 125, but once you get
What's the
sort of
limp
much
frequency?
bigger than that, the limp frequency is 12.3%. So there's still limping. And when you do limp out of position, needs to ISO you 30% of the time. And the limp range is something like this. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you've been playing like with all these like crappy hands down the bottom. Some of this suited hands basically just limping and then seeing a pot in position, and he can't really do too much as out of position to exploit you. Um, should be isolating 30% of the 30% of the time. Well, I'm pretty frequently for these small sizes, like 100, 150, and very rarely for some of these big sizes. I put these big sizes in the sim just to see what happens. Like if he tries to isolate you to some massive size that's similar to a three bet size, um, So those aren't really being used.
Yeah, they do get used
That
at
makes
100,
sense.
right? But at 200, they don't.
Some bigger sizes do get used at 100. Yeah. So for example, limp when you go to 16, you're not voting 85% of the range, and like there's this 1.1%, 1.3% limp raise frequency that you can chuck in there, which just keeps this in check. So like you don't really have to do it. You don't have to have too many limp raises when you get really deep, in order to just like prevent out of position from really doing anything crazy. Uh, Min is still the most common size being used. I mean, this is I mean, the volatility is 0.05, so it's pretty decent sim at this stage. Um, yeah, so Min is still the most common size, but one is still being used. 2.7 is being used at a reasonable amount. So I imagine if we split this up into limp 2.1, 2.7, 0.3, it'll still be pretty good. Take a look at this. The response 150 is the most common robot frequency. So yeah, it's dropped a bit on average. Now it's going to
It's like
8.5 big blinds.
8.5. Yeah.
Yeah, between 8 and 9. I mean, 135 still being taken, 125 still being taken. So like you can go even smaller.
Yeah.
And then the trick there is like if they go really small, like you'll have to four bet kind of biggish. So you four bet like pot. And then they just five bet you. And then the five bet size, they can go to the 70%, which puts in about a quarter of the stack, which makes things difficult for in position. So it's kind of the trick. Gonna have a relatively mergy three bet range because of the smaller size. Three bet range is still around 18%. So 21.6 plus, so between 18 and 19%. So still three betting at a relatively decent frequency despite the fact we're 200 big ones deep. So yeah, it still needs to be doing a lot of three betting.
But
So for
it's
example, we
putting
look at
less money with the three betting because it's three betting the same frequency but for a smaller size.
Yes, that is correct. The reason why is because it's too easy to defend as a call. So this is going to be the calling strategy. It's kind of like the calling ranges. Yeah, the calling strategy is very easy to defend as a call. In position quite deep, you can sort of call a lot of hands, and then basically you'll just see a flop. Out of position will kind of just bet relatively small to deny more equity, and then in position we'll be able to realize a lot of that equity. So a lot of these situations, the opposition player would just be doing a lot of like block betting to deny equity on the earlier streets and then start to polarize later on. Different from 100 1 deep, where like you've got a very polar three bet range to begin with, and then you start off polar on the flop with a lot of checking, with a lot of give ups.
Yeah,
So,
I have some 200 big blind three bet pots. And there's actually some like what you said is mostly correct. It mostly uses the smaller sizes, but there are some boards where there's actually like quite a few boards where it uses like 2x pot to just like 2e all the money in by the turn.
yeah.
Like
So there's going to be some haste boards, particularly where like queens and I mean mainly queens and to a lesser degree jacks ends up being for a pretty good board. So like a board like a Jack 10, whatever.
there's
Queens is just
also
going to get all the money in across two streets.
the 9-8 brick rainbow boards, I think, have like the 2x pot centered around like the overpairs and whatnot as well.
It's going to be centered around the overpairs, isn't it? So yeah, Jacks, 10s, queens, which Institution doesn't have as much of. So 150, the four bet size here is 80%, 90%. So yeah, still going to be four betting around 25ish blinds, less than 25ish blinds, and then there's going to be a min four bet to 50% each four bet. So basically four betting a little less than a quarter of the pot, so a quarter of the stack. Um, too small, then it opens up to a min 6 bet with a range of. Show it, is it? There's a strategy, ace king, suited aces. Gonna be fairly aces heavy.
Yeah, I see.
But
This is-
you kind of get the idea. So yeah, forwarding to the size, facing the smallish 5 bet, and then potential for a min 6 bet with aces sometimes. Notice the aces isn't jamming it in position. This is always trapping against the small 5 bet. So yeah, kings and ace king offsuit is ripping it in. Aces will either trap or go for a min 6 bet.
Mhm.
I mean, there isn't min in the sim, but I'm sure if there was min, it would be used. It's 40%, which is a bit bigger than min. Yeah. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. We'll run some sims. It's up to you. Just yeah. So 150 if you're thinking that he's not going to min. If he's not going to min 5 bets, then we'll kind of remove that, and that will open up your 4 bet sizes to some bigger sizes. And then if you think at 200 he does have those min 5 bets back, the small 5 bets in a strategy, then yeah, we just have to play it by ear and run the simulations with some small 5 betting by him. I'll probably make it so that he 5 bets to a bigger size than what the simulation is doing. Probably because that's what he's doing. Like he probably doesn't know how to play super deep, and maybe he's using similar to strings where the 5 bet sizes maybe are a bit too big.
Yeah. Could I get what can we look at the small blinds deep sim again? Do we have can we just look at the effect it has on the open size one more time? It's opening bigger more frequently, right? At the deeper stacks.
This is 200.
Okay.
So yeah, overall it's simping less, and then the sizes are increasing.
Okay.
The sizes are being pushed up. So you're definitely correct. You're doing less limping and you're doing more. There is still limping.
Yeah.
You're folding less as well as you get deeper, and there's more bigger open sizes. So against Brown, what will probably happen is that you'll end up almost never folding, maybe just a couple of combos, and you get really deep. The limping range will sort of be based around the really crappy hands that you've got, and then the bigger sizes will start to shine through. The big open sizes will start to shine through because it's not really going to be 3 betting you correctly. So you might as well just increase the size of the pot yourself when you've got the stronger hands. And so it'll sort of be because we've got our open sizes spread out enough. The different hands being put into different size will be relatively clear for you. That okay, this hand prefers a slightly bigger size versus this hand prefers a slightly smaller size. Because we've only got 3 sizes that are relatively well spaced apart. These size searching sims have got all the sizes lumped together, so we end up forming a distribution of the sizes, which makes it a little bit blurry for the human eye.
Yeah, it does.
Compared to the three sizes which we'll be using. So when I do run these deep sims, I'll be running them for the rest of this week, and I'll dig into the database and try to pick out what sizes he's using when he gets deep at 150 and 200, and then implement them into the simulation. And so starting next week, you'll have the remainder of the challenge to play some really good deep stack stuff, especially because you're saying that bug was fixed with the buying in.
Yeah, it did seem. I don't know if it's entirely fixed, but it feels as though we were playing a lot more deep stacked, and it doesn't seem to be resetting as frequently. Like there's a lot of times where I reset the time bank and I sit back in and it makes me buy in for the amount that I left with. So I would expect more deep stacked in the pipeline.
All right, yeah, that's fine. Deep stack is simply harder to play. I mean, it's hard to play for both sides. So definitely some opportunities for advantage. So yeah, this is exploit 30 no donk. So it's here. This is assuming two things that the imposition bet size on the flop. So here's in the big line here. Imposition bet size on the flop is 30% of the pot. So look at the board overview. It's like it C bets 30% of the pot, 53.3% of the time. And also assumes that you don't donk out of position. So the reason why I run some of these with donks and without donks is because it likes to donk a lot. It donks around between 10 and 15% of the time. So given that fact, if I remove the donks, that will end up decreasing the solver's imposition c-bet frequency, and it'll increase the frequency at which you 3-bet some of these hands pre-flop. So here the ace-8 is almost always 3-betting now. The king-9 is always 3-betting. The jack-10 suit is always 3-betting. The 7s is 3-betting very high frequency. So that depends on what you like. If you want to study these donking lines, then you would probably 3-bet some of these hands slightly less and then use them as a donk at a higher frequency and donk a bit more to prevent him from checking back. But I think he's sort of like betting at a decentish frequency anyway. It's just that he's putting in too small of a bet on average. So maybe some of these no donks is going to be fine because his betting frequency is okay, and so that'll allow you to sort of check raise at a decent frequency. So basically, the idea is you can defend out of position here with a bunch of drawy type hands. So you don't need as many of these strong pre-flop hands in the range, and that means that basically because he'll end up betting smallish too frequently, or basically here look at it 40% or 51.3-ish percent frequency. Going back to pre-flop, you don't really need to have like as much of the 7s, any of the jack-10, any of the ace-8 suited, any of the ace-10 offsuit, any of the king-queen offsuit in the calling range, because you can just defend the pot using these draws and then just call that small flop bet. Or if you have flop a really strong hand, like I said, or a straight or whatever, you can just use that as the massive check raise. So after it goes bet, call, check, bet, the board overview, you've got some really big check raises here at the 150 size at a decent frequency, but also a lot of min check raising as well. So maybe if I remove this one, it'll see that a bit more. But like, there's not going to be a lot of min check raising on these like paired boards.
There is going to be a lot on the paired boards.
Yeah. So on paired boards in particular, there's a lot of small check raises and some of these flush boards as well, and monotone boards.
Yeah, I was aware of the monotone small check raise, but on the paired boards, I usually go 1/2.
Yeah. So there's a bit of 1/2 on the paired boards as well. So like in general on paired boards, the check raise size is relatively small.
Okay.
Raise size is a little bit bigger on some of these boards. Up to the 150 being thrown on certain boards. But the whole idea is that because he's betting too small too frequently, like you can just go for the check call, and like you don't really need as many check raises on the flop in order to sort of prevent him from doing that. And instead you just 3-bet it pre-flop. So like some of these hands, like the ace-10, the king-queen, ace-8 suited, the jack-10 suited, the king-10 suited,
Ace-9 as
that
well.
kind of stuff.
Ace-9 offsuit usually Usually
usually
goes
would
for the
flat,
call.
but here it's under 3-bet. So on a lot of these boards, these hands that would make top pair, top kicker, they would go for a check raise on the flop. They aren't in the range anymore. So your overall flop check raise frequency will decrease because these hands are moved from pre-flop in the calling range into the 3-bet range. So you'll end up 3-betting a bit
We merge.
a bit more merged. The overall 3-bet frequency is roughly the same because they're all kept in check by the 4-bet range. But yeah, overall, like some of these hands aren't going for the call anymore. They're going for 3-bet. All right, so I've got to leave it there. I'll let you guys chat for a bit. Then I've got to run off to work.
All right, good stuff. And you said I'll have the new ranges and the new sims by the end of the week.
Yeah, so the deep stack's up by the end of the week. I'll upload these no donk. There's 6 of these, so you can take a quick look at them.
Perfect.
So the post exploit ones will be with them without donking, so you can just kind of see how the donking changes the strategy and pre-flop, and then take a think about what you're currently doing and making some certain changes on a few types of hands. All right, so I'll upload those later today. You guys can chat in the meantime. I'll get ready for work. So it'll still be recorded. So and then I'll stop the recording when I leave.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. I was listening in. Yeah, I'm a bit sick right now. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yes.
Not
feeling well.
Yeah, I'm not feeling great, but whatever. Yeah, you just more of the same, basically, between you two.
Yeah, things are going well. I'm happy.
Okay, we hit 12,000 hands or something today.
Oh, that's a good point.
Not quite.
Check. I'm gonna check. Since date. Oh, we hit. Yeah, we're at like 12,000.
Yeah.
And I think it's like 23.5 buy-ins, I believe, is like the current tally, which is good. I've run under EV for the past 6 days. And it's always been like 20 big blinds below EV for the past like 6 days straight. Just like whatever.
Oh, you ran under EV today again?
Yeah. There's a pot.
I guess like the funny thing you can say is like, oh, like yeah, like Brandon ran better than me this challenge, but like I guess that's okay.
Dude, I'm totally bringing it out after the challenge is said and done. It's like, bro, he even ran over EV.
Yeah, like I mean, everyone's gonna say like, oh, I mean, yeah, I think this is probably. Yeah, I was looking at like the betting markets basically on you. You're gonna get no action at plus 400, by the way.
Yeah,
like I've tried, like
I was a bit. It was a bit of an optimistic line. I'm like, maybe one. But
yeah,
like
and
once
the problem is that like
it's just like it's so much capital to tie up on like such a small profit.
Yeah, like it's literally like you're gonna have to get to like plus 600 if not more. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean that was my problem. Like I tried to get money down. Like if I yeah, like as soon as Thomas said like I'm coaching this guy, I'm like okay, like, and he said you're good, or like, and I was like okay, then like I know Brandon's like not the best heads up player, so
yeah. I mean,
and just like the variance in this thing is just higher than people realize. Yeah, I think people don't realize that like the last like the people think like you got lucky in the first like 4,000 hands or whatever that 20 something buy and run up was.
I mean, yeah.
But, like they didn't realize. No, it's true. But like they didn't realize that like things have basically evened out and like you guys have been flat for the last bit, and like he's probably run pretty well in that time, and he just hasn't like. I mean, it's not like he's like proven an advantage. So
yeah, I think like I definitely like ran good in the beginning, but like in the beginning, Brandon just had like major leaks, like especially like even just like simple pre-flop stuff. Like he wasn't 3-betting enough, and his 3-bet range was too merged, and like we were just like crushing him pre-flop for probably like 7 big blinds pre-flop, and then I probably had a post-flop edge as well. So like in the beginning of the challenge, my edge was definitely like over 10 big blinds, like well over 10 big blinds per 100. Like just I don't even think that's like speculation at this point. It's like he had
Mhm.
terrible pre-flop stuff, and then he was also making a bunch of post-flop errors. But now he's gotten a lot better, and he's finally figured out how to play pre-flop. A month
Mhm.
into the heads up challenge, he finally got his hand on some pre-flop charts. It's been looking over them. So yeah, I think I've lost a little bit of edge, but I'm still happy and happy with how things are going. The yellow line keeps going up. Yellow
Mhm.
line keeps going up, which is good.
Yeah, it's like sort of it's a better line to follow than the green line. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I mean, okay, like yeah, he's gonna have to basically win at 19 bigs per hundred going forward, which is a very tall task. Um,
Yeah, it's getting around that. Last
like
over
every single day that happens, like he doesn't win, like he needs to be winning like a buy in a day now, I think.
yeah, around
Um,
that.
which is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so
it's a lot. But I'm really hoping he bows out at 15K because it's just like I get to like
oh,
collect the side bet. Yeah, yeah.
you want him to
Because like
bow out?
like like people
Interesting.
don't understand, man. Like the Pennsylvania pools are quite
Oh
soft.
yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
I was hitting like I'm not sure the graph was like 12 pigs per hundred over like a massive sample, and
Yeah.
it's and I was hitting like 70K a month on average, which is like
Hmm.
pretty good for playing like 2-5 and 5-10 online. Cause I was just
Hmm.
like, you know, you have like the four lobbies up and you're just like constantly scanning the lobbies. And then you got like four tables up and you're just like, I was never in a game with fewer than two fish for like 3 months straight. And I was like grinding like 9 hours a day. I was like, dude, it was sick, man. I was
Hmm.
banking cash. I had set that goal at the beginning of 2022 that I like because I had just gotten crushed in actually high stakes heads up at the time before I went through my Linus Love study phase. Like, don't do anything except study solvers for a month. But I had gotten crushed at the end of 2021. So in the beginning of 2022, I'm like, all right, am I just gonna donk it all off at high stakes and get a normal job, or am I gonna or I'm gonna persevere? And I spent the month in the lab, and then I came out and like the goal I'm setting for this year is to take my 120K bankroll to 500K by the end of the year. Everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was insane, and I fucking made it. I made it December 26th. So I had 5 days to spare. I did it anyway. But like I make considerably more money on the Pennsylvania sites than playing Brandon. And so it's like
Hmm.
and I also like once this challenge is over, Doug Polk, you're next. Like it's on. Did you hear about
Yeah.
the Doug Polk challenge that he issued?
The what?
Doug Polk issued a 100K heads up buy-in challenge at the lodge. So it's like it's obviously going to be like a pretty small sample, but I would be down to play Doug Polk, and I already have like a bunch of people willing to back me to play Doug Polk heads up at the lodge, which I think would be really fun. But I'm probably only going to take like half to a third of myself,
Hmm.
probably closer to a third. But yeah, I got plans, and then I also have college coming up in the fall.
Oh, what are you going
It's
to
like
college for?
psychology, and
Why?
maybe I'll switch my major to finance. Don't know.
Why?
Well, you can only spend so long in your parents' basement before you get a little stir crazy.
Yeah,
And
you could move out if it still play poker.
yeah, but I kind of want to meet people organically. And
Yeah, you can do that and still play and not go to college.
yeah, but college, like you're forced to meet people, which is like kind of what I want. I want to be like forced to meet people, like work with people and stuff.
Uh, True.
I'm a very big extrovert, so
Having been to college is a big mistake.
big mistake. But it was like
Yeah.
also college is free for me. So besides the opportunity cost, like it's paid for by the government because I was in the army. So I have the GI Bill.
I
So it's like
understand, but
free, and I like to be around other people. And I got accepted to Penn State, Maine, which is pretty cool. So probably go there. I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And worst comes to worst, I'll just drop out.
yeah, I mean, like,
Saying it's an option.
My friend or slash business partner heard that you're considering going to college. He knows nothing about you, but doesn't recommend it. And yeah, I mean, I don't recommend. I mean, I've been to college for a long time. Like I did a couple years of a PhD, and yeah, I regret it. And yeah, like knowing your situation, I would not go. But up to you. Like, or if you do go, like, don't like be very clear that you're like completely going to like throw all the studying out the window. Like you're not going to go to class. Like you shouldn't like. I don't know, like what do you? Yeah, I just don't
I'm not
get
going to be
why you
okay.
go.
So I'm not
Yeah.
going to college. I'm going to college for psychology, but I'm not going to college for psychology.
I understand.
I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. And
All right.
like I said, it's like there are certain things that I do where I'm like, I will definitely accomplish X in Y amount of time. This is not really one of those things. I'm just pretty laid back. I don't really have that many academic goals. I don't have. It's more of like a lifestyle change. Yeah, mostly just like a lifestyle change. I was like, oh, what's the worst that could happen? You know, it's like if I don't like it, I'll just leave. It's the option. But it's like my last chance to go and fit in somewhat with the younger people, because like I just turned 24. It's gonna be tough, but I'm like at the edge of the acceptable age range.
Mm-hmm. All right. I know I'd at least consider not going, but
Well, I've considered not going. I have considered not going, and yeah, I just have to like get out of my parents' basement, bro. It's like I just like have no friends and shit.
yeah, I'd recommend getting out of your parents' basement. Like that's a good idea. Like getting out of the house by like 22, 23 is a good idea, but like that doesn't mean go to college. There's a difference.
Yeah. It's like, why not go to college? If you're gonna go anywhere, why not just go to college?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could like live in a college town and like do stuff with, I don't know, people around that age. You're also, I don't know, are you 25?
24. Just turned 20. Man, I'll be all right. I'm excited, man. Why didn't you like college?
I mean, like it's somewhat fun. I mean, it depends what you're going for. I was a real like academic and nerd and stuff, so like that. I was not there to just like have fun, but yeah, I guess like if you want to like take a party, but like I don't know, you're doing pretty like poker won't exist forever. I'll tell you that. Like eventually the bots will take it over. Like there's like this really rare time where online poker is a thing.
So I think live poker is always going to be a thing, though.
Yeah, of course. But
just need the proper bankroll to become a live player.
Yeah, well, I can tell you a couple things actually before I head off. But so number one, Brandon is not gonna. I highly doubt Brandon will.
Me too.
Less than a 5% chance that he backs out because like he's been looking for more action. Like he sent me the other day like if I would cross book him, and I said like, how much action do you have on yourself? Like I want to know. Because like at what point do I just have to get word that like you know like he's not going to pay? It wasn't. I assume we wouldn't be which I'm calling the best escrowing the bets. And so I was like, how much do you have on yourself? He goes like, oh like he goes like I don't know, I don't even know. And I'm like, how do you not know? Like
what? I got spreadsheets, bro. I got charts.
Yeah. Like so he wouldn't tell me, and then he goes like I've got everything in escrow. I'm like okay, but so I said like okay, like in that case like I would cross book 500 like for a $500 buy-in, and he goes no I'm looking for like at least 10K. I'm like for the rest of the challenge. He meant rest of the challenge. A couple days ago, and I was like dude like what are you on like?
So I understand that you take that as a sign that he definitely won't back out. But I almost take it as a sign like because he said this in the past that he wants to make it worth his while, right? And I think it's plausible that he doesn't have enough action to make it worth his time. And if he doesn't get any more action, then he may bow out at the 15K hand mark. Or like if he does get more action, then maybe potentially he'll stick around for a bit longer.
That's like one way to look at it. I think he still thinks he's better.
Oh yeah, I think you're right about that.
And like I know people don't like to lose. So yeah, and then somehow he asked if like Thomas, if I thought Thomas would want it, and I said like I don't know. I was like, oh, like why would Thomas want it? And he goes like, oh, because he's coaching him. I'm like, oh, like to my knowledge, he's not. Like he should be working on like the Zenith thing or that Zenith thing, and no, he didn't believe me. So he knows clearly, but
that's funny.
I don't know. Maybe you should have like stuck to one size preflop or something.
Yeah, definitely stick to one size.
But
that was only a matter of time.
he goes, I mean, yeah, he goes, yeah, but no one will take action on the other side despite him winning so much. Yeah, I mean, like, you're like the line, like the bets getting made, like I know, as probably the last bet that happened. Like they're still getting sort of made around like a 2.5 big blind per 100 advantage for him. But that's mainly because like all the people that want action won on Brandon. So like I'm not going to compromise, and like I'm the only one that's given action the last like 3-4 weeks. There's like one guy that put action a bunch, like two guys put a bunch of action at the beginning of the week. Sorry, at the beginning of the challenge, but like that's it. So
yeah, was it Spiffy and
yeah, and Stars of the Zed. Yeah. Those two guys. So like there's other than that, there's like no action. And like it is true that like one of my poker students actually who's in this Discord, Vanta Black, he's like,
oh, I know
he's
him.
just a live player. Yeah, he's so he I coach him and I stake him and stuff, but he goes, yeah, he obviously has no money on the challenge. Like outside of the bankroll I've given him, he's got like I don't know, maybe a few $1,000s. So he's got like no bets on you, but he goes, oh, I'm rooting for him. So I do think it's true that like you've got the support of like all the miniature, all the minnows, but
yeah, all the minnows. Yeah, I've been pretty active on Discord for a while, so I've become acquainted with. I know Vanta Black. I know a lot of the guys, and I'm friendly with them. I know Brandon is more in like the very like closed off high stakes crowd. He's not in a lot of Discords anymore, at least. I know.
I mean, there's a difference between like I'm in a bunch of Discords, but I'm not active in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been pretty active, so I've gotten to know people and whatnot. But yeah, the online poker grind. Not getting to know many people in real life. A lot of hours spent in the basement.
Okay. Yeah, like I just wouldn't be expecting him to bow out.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to, but I also wouldn't be like super surprised, especially if he can't get any more action on himself. It's like I don't like, even if he thinks he's better, it's like there's got to be better spots. Like I think I'm better than him, but I don't want to play him any more than I have to. It's like there's better spots. Maybe
yeah. Like it's literally it's like 10K more hands, like 20 days or so. Like I wouldn't offer him anything. I mean, like I know you're probably tempted to offer him like change it, like stop playing and like he gives you like 5,000 instead of 10,000 or something, but I wouldn't do that. I would not say anything if he I know, like sure you can hope he resigns, but other than that, like
yeah, mainly hoping for him to bow out at 15K hands. If he doesn't bow out at 15K hands, then we'll see where things go from there. But yeah, I think he's probably.
I'd be very surprised if he. I would be very surprised if he planned to bow out at 15K.
Yeah, because 15K is the bow out clause. Remember?
Yeah, I know, but I'd be very surprised if he wanted to. Like he's still, I mean, like unofficial from Josh, but like something like 12, 13K buy-in for him. Like I know, how is that not enough?
Oh, he's
right?
playing that right now.
That's what I thought. Like I've been on. Sorry, yeah. Like he has an effective big blind of like 130 or so, I think, according to Josh.
I don't know. That like, sounds a lot because
that is a lot.
I'm only playing him at 2K.
3. You said you're playing. Yeah, he's got you at 2K. And he's got a bunch of side bets, which lever him up. Like I know for a fact he's got a lot. I don't know how much exactly, but I know he's got a lot.
I'm like bankrupting this dude, and I'm not even getting rich.
You're doing fine.
I am doing fine. So it's you and Spiffy and Zay, but like,
All right, guys.
Right. Yeah,
I'm just
we're just
gonna-
shooting the shit. Yeah, you can
All
stop
right.
recording.
Right. You guys keep going for as long as you need.